everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at 6 different games, some good, some bad. 6 of them. So here we go. We're just going to jump into it. Let's get started. We'll go from smallest to largest. First we have Fork. This stands for Fox, Owl, Rabbit, Kale. This is a trick-taking game, and I'm not even sure. It's called Fork. I guess they're all eating each other. Fox eats owl, owl eats rabbit, rabbit eats kale. But fork, does that mean I eat them all? Well, I don't know. Anyhow, here's how it plays. In this game, there are various cards numbered from 1 to 9. 9s are foxes and they're wild. The rest of the cards are going to be owls, hares, and rabbits, and kale. And those are going to be distributed between the players, although everyone gets a fox. On a player's turn, they declare a terrain type. So maybe they say Arctic. They'll play that face down. Everyone else has to also play their cards face down, and they have to play that terrain type unless you're playing Kale. Kale's placed face up. Or if you don't have that terrain type, in which case you can play any card you want. Then the cards go off, and then we see what happens, starting from the highest number and going down. If there's a fox, the fox can score an owl or a hare. Unless there's 2 foxes, they cancel out. An owl can take a hare. Hares can take kale. And kale, you get to keep if it survives and no one's eaten it. Kale, the thing is though, only the color of being led works. This owl doesn't get to go at all because they're not the color that was announced. You're going to score points for these different cards. You see this one's worth 2 points. And you see that kale is worth points depending on how much you have at the end of the game. You'll play through all the cards doing that round after round. And whoever has the most points is the winner. Now I like trick-taking games. And I really don't like this one. I give this one a 4 out of 10. And the main reason for that is I feel like the agency in the game is so diminished and the scoring is so uninteresting. I mean, the game also ends if someone scores 5 cards. The scores are so low and so boring. I mean, the idea of, hey, I'll play a fox. I bet no one else plays a fox. And then someone else plays a fox. Boom, bust it. That's good. But other than that, not particularly interesting. I mean, you have to follow suit if you can. And then so if someone plays blue, I'm like, well, this is the only blue card I have. I had no agency there. And then the kale playing stuff, as the game goes by, people start saying, terrain types, suits that you don't have. And so you're like, well, I guess I'm not in this round. It's just boring and dreadfully unfun. So I can't really recommend it. I like trick-taking games for the most part. If you say something is trick-taking game, it automatically is a little better for me. Not this one. Get Bit. This is a game, I already like it. I just tell you that straight out of the gate. This is the newest version here from Dave Chalker, and this one has really cute pieces in it. Look at these. In this game, each player has a diver piece, and you'll place them in front of a shark. Players also have a hand of cards that are going to be marked 1 through 7. On your turn, you can play any cards you want next to, basically in front of the table in front of you. So everyone's going to be playing them face down and then revealing them at the same time. So once all the cards are revealed, and I put them next to their divers so you can see them closely, we see if anyone has played cards that are the same number. So you can see here that 2 7s have been played, so they don't move, and 2 4s have been played. So then we start with the lowest number, 3. He moves to the front of the line. And then green played a 5. They move to the front of the line. Da-na-na. Now the shark eats a limb from the last diver in line. And you just take one of their limbs, rip it off. They then go to the front of the line, and they get to put all their cards back in their hand. Everyone else's card that they played stays in front of them. And you keep doing that. Now, if you only have 1 card left in your hand, then you get to take all your cards back into your hand. And once you've lost all of 4 of your limbs, then you're eliminated. So as time goes by, the different players will be eliminated. When it comes down to 2, the game instantly ends. The diver that's in front of the shark is eaten, and the other diver is the winner of the game. There's also a variant where one person can play shark cards, and they play as the shark, and you can also play where the cards are memory, and you have to remember what numbers people played. But that's how you play. So this game has always been one that I've enjoyed. It is silly fun as you just try to outguess your opponents on what cards they played. This memory variant here, I'll never play with it. I like to see what cards, like you've already played your 7. You've already played your 7. As long as Bob doesn't play a 7, this is the time to play a 7. Then we both play 7s. Bust it. Or maybe I don't care if we're busted because Bob was in last place. The idea, like I used to like justify this because the original game came with Legos. I'm like, meh, they're just robots losing limbs. Now they're humans. Well, not really. These are like bath toys, so it's not as big of a deal, right? Also, I'm not a huge fan that they made one diver and the shark the same color. That I would not have done. But it's silly fun. And now the shark can play, which is kind of silly. It's a little bit more rules. I don't think it's needed, but it works. And it's a nice filler, the game you play between other games. A lot of fun. So this one for me is an 8 out of 10, and I really am digging this new production. It's cute, it's simple, and it's fun. Greater than games. Good job. Eter is a game that I didn't know much about. I mean, that's kind of a weird cover, right? So you read the back of it. In ancient times, a great tournament was held. A tactical dueling game, 4 combat modes. A logic game with a pinch of magic. But what they really should have put here in the back of the box was Tic-Tac-Toe Deluxe. Now, that's not a bad thing. Well, at least we'll see. Take a look. In the basic game, you get cards that you have 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, and a 4 in your hand, as does your opponent. On your turn, you play a card out on the table. Your opponent can play next to it or on top of your card if the card that they play is higher. And once a third card is played in such a way, now there is a grid. You're a tic-tac-toe grid of 3 by 3. So maybe the next player, the red player, plays a card here, and then the blue player plays a card. Let's see, maybe they would play this card here. The grid is now set. You can see it completely, 3 by 3. The red player says, well, I just won because I put a 2 on top of this one, and now they have 3 in a row. Now, of course, there's going to be a little bit more nuance to that, but that's the base game. Now, you can add to it by allowing a player to play a card face down once per game. And if someone tries to go on top of it, that card's revealed. If you're higher, you go on top of it. But if you're lower, let's say they put a 1, then their card goes away, and this one stays face up. You also can play a 4 by 4 grid, and then you start adding special powers that will do things. You can also play where each match, whoever wins the match, gets to put something on an actual tic-tac-toe board here. And there's a lot of other rules to make the game more complicated. Lots of different cards and special abilities that can be played. But that's the basic gist of how the game works. My son loves tic-tac-toe, and I get it. It's a fun game to play, but it gets boring really quickly. It's on every menu of every restaurant in existence for kids, so I'm also asked to play it. I've taught my son advanced tic-tac-toe, where you have a tic-tac-toe in a tic-tac-toe grid, and that's much more interesting. But Eter is even more interesting than that. Now, the basic game that I showed you, the 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4, that also is, I think, solvable. But once you add in 2 more cards, you get another 2 or 3 for each player, and you make the grid 4 by 4, and you add in the special powers that you can do. Like, I can do this once per game and put a spot here. Suddenly, it becomes tic-tac-toe on steroids. And that's interesting. It's fun. I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Now, I don't know that it will ever go beyond that. And I think some people would put off. And I do wish some of the special ability cards, I am like, what does that do? So before we start, I'm like, your power does this, my power does this. But me and my son had a lot of fun playing this. I also played it with my teenage daughters. We also had fun back and forth, just trying to outthink the other person, that tic-tac-toe idea. When do you play that 4? Because once you play the 4, it can't be covered up, unless a special power supersedes that. But it can't be covered up. But you don't want to waste it too early. It's good to put on top of a 3, but a 3 is good to put on top of a 2. So I might as well just play some 1s, but then stuff can be put on top of them. Fun, interesting, quick game. If you know anyone who likes tic-tac-toe and they want more, Eter is the game for you. 7 out of 10. Poetry for Neanderthals was a game that was told I need to play by lots and lots of people. I saw people playing at a convention. They were bonking each other in the head with a large inflatable club. Okay. For some reason, I don't know why, it never really appealed to me. You know, Poetry for Neanderthals is from the Exploding Kittens folks. I was like, meh, eh. Then I played it, and it was fun. So this game comes with a big giant stack of cards. It comes with an inflatable club. Pretend this is blown up, because I just tried to blow it up and my eyes rolled back in my head. But you'll have an inflatable club, and you have a timer. You're going to split people into teams. And what's going to happen is one person on the team is going to be the Neanderthal poet. And they're going to have the slate, that's this thing here, in front of them. And they're going to choose which side of cards you're going to use. You'll use red or gray on the other side. And the person next to you has a club. They take the inflatable club. And then the timer starts. And while the timer's going, you're trying to get your people on your team to guess these words, sleep or sleeping giant, but only using one-syllable words. So I might say, the thing you do at night in your bed. And if someone shouts sleep, I can immediately score a point, or I can keep trying to go and get the 3 points. And I go, and you are a huge man who eats kids. And maybe they'll be like, sleeping giant? If they're right, I can take the 3 points. If at any point I mess up, the person with the club bonks me on the head, and I have to put the card down here in the -1 points. And then I can go to the next card, and you just go through that as people are bonking on the head with the no stick. They have to say no and hit you. You can't say the word, you can't use gestures, you can't say sounds like or rhymes with, you can't use other languages, and that's the game. After you're done, you'll put the cards that you have up in the category of how many points you have, and the team who has the most points at the end, after you go around a certain number of rounds, is the winner. So the club is obviously a prop. It has a big no on it, bonk, bonk, bonk. You can even see us playing this game live. I like this a lot. Maybe because my vocabulary is not as good as most people's, so I'm used to using a lot of one-syllable words. But giving clues with one-syllable words is the whole shtick of this game, and it works. And it's funny because you'll forget, and then you get bonked. And the bonking doesn't hurt at all, but you're not expecting it. And you will not play a game of this where nobody laughs. And if nobody laughs, then you're a joyless, soulless group. Fun, silly game. I give this one an 8 out of 10. It works with families, it works with adults, and it also kind of breaks the barrier because you got someone who's really smart. They're smart, but can they do stuff in one-syllable words? Oh, no. So that's Poetry for Neanderthals. I like it. Dr. Rat here is from Blue Orange Games. Blue Orange Games makes simple, fun games for the whole family to play. Dr. Rat is a game in which one person is going to be Dr. Rat and everyone else is trying to figure out what rules there are about the food that they can or cannot eat. It's a complicated game. Let me show you. I'm not going to go over every rule in this game because, frankly, it's really convoluted. But one person's playing Dr. Rat. And so they'll have some tokens up here that players can use or they can use. And they're going to have cards here that they're going to have in front of them. These are going to be foods. And what they are doing at the beginning of the game, they are either randomly or deliberately picking dietary restrictions for the different rat groups that are out there. Like maybe cheese is bad for them, or maybe they can't eat groups of food that are 3. Some sort of thing, and there's like many different combinations. It's going to take you a long time to explain to players what it even means. I just mentioned the easiest ones. Then each round, they're going to give the rats some food, and then the rats have to decide whether they're going to eat it or not eat it based on what they think their restrictions might be. And as time goes by, you as the Dr. Rat, if you're playing the main player, you're going to tell them you messed up or you didn't. Other than that, you can't really give them any kind of guidance. They're just going to have to figure it out by messing up or not messing up who gets what food and by the food that you put out there for them. So if they're correct, you'll move on. And if they're correct enough times, you'll win the game. Otherwise, you will lose. And what I just mentioned to you, again, is kind of the basic choice. I want to show you the rule book. I don't normally do this, but these are the basic rules. This is all set up for Dr. Rat. Then this is playing, and that was just the basic game. Then all the special actions you can do, then complication variants, then the colleagues variant. There's a ton of rules here because what it is essentially is players are trying to utilize, again, like I said, these cards that they've gotten to try to figure out. But all these rules here are how each of the cards work. Like here, when he chooses this forbidden, he's going to pick things that you can't eat. 2 different families that you can't eat. Like you can't eat blue, and you can't have foods that are in the water category, or something like that. So this is going to take a while to figure out. Then you're going to have to teach it to everybody. Then you play the game. The problem I have with Dr. Rat, and the reason I'm giving this a 5 out of 10, is because I like the concept of the game so much, but it is just so convoluted. I don't know how this went through. I think this might be the most complicated Blue Orange game they've ever made. And I'm including their big adult strategy games. There's just so much work for Dr. Rat to get these rules, to put them out, and then beforehand you have to explain to everyone the possibilities that their rules might be, And for kids, they're sitting there like, what? I mean, for kids, you might just be like, you can pick something you can't have or something you can have. You got to play with that. It's the simplest way. Other games exist like this, like Zendo and other logic games. There's other games where you give clues out, like Deception Murder in Hong Kong is the thing. This has some interesting ideas, but A, not enough information given out, and B, the nonsensical, just so much complexity with cards and moving here and everything. And the cards, you flip them over on both sides. It's just a mess. It's really a mess of a game, and I don't know. I want to like it more than I do, but I just can't really recommend Dr. Rat. Mycelia is a mushroom game, a cute one. Look at that cover. And it is a mushroom game among many mushrooms. Shroom lovers, your time is now. There are so many different mushroom games that are out there. And so in Mycelia, this is a deck building game where you're building a deck of cards where you're trying to get water droplets off your board. Let me show you. At the beginning of the game, each player gets a board here, and you'll get a random starting card which tells you where to put all the little water droplets on your board. And then you're also going to get a starting deck of cards that you will shuffle, and you'll draw 3 of those cards. There's also going to be extra cards that can be purchased and put into your deck, and there'll be a line of these face up next to the board. Now on a player's turn, they're going to play their cards. Most of the cards will move water droplets, like this one here moves a water droplet out of a blue. Hey, I got it to my shrine, which means I'm going to place it up here in this board up here. I've gotten rid of it. Here I can move one from a green. I'm doing pretty well here. I got these out, but you can see you can move them from one spot to another. Other cards are going to give you leaves. Leaves are the currency of the game, and that's how you buy more cards, or you can use the special abilities that you have placed down here at the beginning of the game. And like in a beginner's game, these are pretty simple here, where this one lets you move any water droplet and lets you move cards around in a lane out there. But you can see here some cards, like this one gives you 4 leaves, or lets you just get rid of 2 drops that are in the red area. This one lets you move 3 water drops. Here, around a red area, I can kill water drops, but this is a pretty expensive one, costs 7 leaves. Some cards give you more leaves, but then give all the other players a leaf. So you're going to be doing that. Also, as players are getting rid of drops on their board, they're going to be filling this up here at the top. You'll notice there's a die on there also. And when this gets to wherever the die is, let's say it's a 3-player game, so it reaches the die, then we rotate this whole thing like this so that all the drops fall out, which doesn't really mean anything. What does mean something is this die coming out. And then this board, we look for that symbol on this board. Here it's 1 time, although you'll notice that some symbols are there twice, and everyone has to put a water drop in that spot from this pile. Then the rest are removed from the game. And that's it. You're going to keep playing till someone gets all their drops off their board. Meh! Mycelia is fine. Here's the thing. This device right here, this spinning device, which takes a while to put together and everything, is such an unnecessary thing. Literally at the end of a round, you could just roll a die. Don't get me wrong. It's fun to put the water droplets here and see them drop down the hole. But it means nothing. And I'm not a big fan necessarily of things that mean nothing. It should have something to do with the game, and it doesn't, unfortunately. So I can't, this is such a big part of the box. The rest of it's just a basic deck builder. And unfortunately, the game doesn't seem to have any kind of good flow. So deck builders, you have a deck of cards, everyone has the same starting cards, you slowly get better cards, and you do cool things. Here, there's really cool cards out there, but if someone gets a cool card faster than everybody else, they're going to start, just blowing up water droplets, and it might just be the one that works where their water droplets are, and they clear their board. Adding water droplets to the board every time the thing empties is such a stupid mechanism. Who cares? We all got another droplet. So now we all artificially stretch the game out a little bit longer. Why? You could say it adds a little bit of nuance into where things go, but if the water droplet falls on a card that I was about to play anyway, I don't care. The leaves being a currency that lasts from round to round, that's a little interesting. The artwork's great. The symbology is kind of where the game also falls apart a bit because I have to sit there and explain every card. The card symbols aren't always the easiest. If it shows 2 water droplets and another water droplet, that means you have to get rid of 2. There has to be 2 in a tile, but you can get rid of a third. That's just not easy to understand. That being said, the game plays smoothly, it plays well, it's simple. I think some people are going to like it. For me, though, it's just okay at best. It feels like there's too much unnecessary stuff in it, so the best I can give this one is a 6 out of 10. And there you go, folks. 6 games. We have okay, we have not very good, we have very good, good, very good, and, well, pretty terrible. So there you go. You want to see just short reviews, just these real quickly, check out our channel, Dice Tower Encore, on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time.